Welcome to Bible Bites, everyone. I'm Pastor Dan. We are reading through the Bible one small bite at a time. And we're going to finish up chapter 17 today and beginning here in verse 22. When they came together in Galilee. So this is his disciples, his followers. They are now in Galilee, an area, region in North Israel, area Jesus often ministered in. Jesus said to them, "The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men. They will kill him, and on the third day he will be raised to life." And his disciples were filled with grief. So there may be a couple of times in your life when there was a conversation or experience that you had in which you really remember how you felt. And Matthew records that they were grieved by Jesus' statement. I don't think it was really taught that the Messiah, and Jesus being the Messiah, that the Messiah would suffer and die, at least that he would die. That was not taught. They just understood the Messiah as someone that would conquer and victorious, and Jesus was, but he did it through his death and resurrection. And so the disciples, I think, just there's a lot of misunderstanding about this, even though Jesus is being very plain, right? And they're grieved by this. Perhaps they completely glossed over the fact that Jesus said he'd be raised to life. They didn't really get what that meant. Okay, so Matthew he records this, and this is at least the second time that Jesus very plainly tells them what's going to happen, what's going to take place. This other event then, here they are. They're in Capernaum, again, a city that Jesus is very familiar with. Probably Peter's house was here, a house in which he stayed in, which was very familiar probably to all the disciples. So after Jesus and his disciples arrived in Capernaum, the collectors of the 2 drachma temple tax came to Peter and asked, "Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax?" The religious and political leaders, because they were really one and the same in the Jewish culture at this time, they tracked down Jesus. And they wanted to know if Jesus had not paid his temple tax. This temple tax was something that all Jewish males, I think 20 years and older, paid. And the closest thing we might think of it, like an example of it today, would be like tithe, almost. Now it's a little different. So, but for some reason they felt like Jesus maybe had not paid this tax, and so they come and they kind of track him down, and they're asking Peter, like, "Hey, did he pay it?" And they're of course always looking for a reason, right, to accuse Jesus as well. So, but Peter replies, he does. He pays it. So when Peter came into the house, Jesus was the first to speak. "What do you think, Simon?" That's another name for Peter. He asked, Jesus is asking that. "From whom do the kings of the earth collect duty and taxes? From their own children and from others?" So the idea here is, if there's a tax, like something that you have to pay, right? It's like a required thing that you have to pay. Who do kings collect that from? Like their children or everyone else in the kingdom? Well, they obviously answer, and Peter gets this correct, from others, right? Even we don't require tribute, right, from our own children. We're not kings, but so it's pretty obvious here. And Jesus says, "Well, then the children are exempt." So I think Jesus' point is, hey, the Jews are the children of God, right? God had gone a great distance to make them his own children, to from the promise he made to Abraham in Genesis, we have how he delivered them out of slavery, made them into a nation, lavished his love on them, bore with them through their rebellion and so forth. But they're the children of God. And here, it's not really right or best that the Jews are requiring this temple tax from their own. It'd be better that the Jews, out of their own generosity, gave. And it is possible that if they were just out of the own generosity of their hearts, if that was the model by which they operated, that they'd actually get more than they would if they, with the tax. But anyway, so Jesus continues. He says, "But so that we may not cause offense, go to the lake and throw out your line. Take the first fish you catch, open its mouth, and you will find a 4 drachma coin. Take it and give it to them for my tax and yours." So Jesus, through a miraculous means, provides the tax money for both himself and Peter. And Jesus' point is, okay, so this may not be the way that it should be, but we're not going to make a big deal out of this. We're not going to cause offense. And so he pays the tax. This is a principle that we as Christ followers ought keep in mind in this world. There are going to be things, and it's not the way that it should be, but we do them to avoid offense, right? And not to make a big deal out of things. So that finishes Matthew 17. We'll be in Matthew 18 next video. We only have 10 videos to go. Or not 10 videos. Only 10 chapters to go before we finish the book of Matthew. Matthew's testimony of Jesus Christ. We'll see you in our next video.